Greetings to the gang. Who's got a question? Remember when it was fresh and new and cool outside? Well, I tell you, this whole bit about breathing in all of that smoke. Steve is coughing something terrible, and I'm sure it's because of that. Takes the fun out of going outside. Does make it nice to be working underneath trees in the shade with a little bit of a filter, though, too. Is there anybody who's got any questions? Hey, Karen, I see a hello in chat, but nothing else. Um, oh, I got a question from someone who went to the library, Priscilla. She she texted me to say that I saw this plant and I didn't know what it was. And I asked the librarian and she wasn't familiar with it and gave me your number. Um, so, so I said, what is this plant? And I said, well, it looks to me like it's our cosmos blooming. When I was last there, the cosmos were still kind of scrawny. I suppose it's a cosmos. It's a cosmos, or what is the other one that we've got out there that has that color? Ice plant, porch lock of moss rose. At any rate, she texted me this picture and said, "Can you tell me what it is?" And told her it was Cosmos, and that I didn't know the variety name anymore. We bought it at Bogey Lake Greenhouse, and I failed to keep the tag, so I'm not sure which variety it is. But that uh, if she liked it, then go to Bogey Lake Greenhouse. And she texted back that she'd called Bogey Lake Greenhouse and found out it was an annual, and she wasn't interested in annuals. I said, well, if you're interested in perennials and you like that flower color and the form, Japanese anemones or New England asters would fit your bill. And she texted back that I'm looking for low things. She said low things for the cemetery because I'm getting older and can't get up and down and planting annuals every year. Um, and I thought, well, it wouldn't be Cosmos then that you'd put out there anyway. And actually, it's probably not one of the best things to do to clip a flower out of a public garden and then ask the gardener what it is. I said, anyway, I told her, did I put it in here? Yeah. I told her I'd go with the Sedum Siboldi species or some of the varieties because they bloom that plummy rose color late this time of year. And so many of them have such nice foliage and would stay low. It's nice that she can plant anything at the cemetery. That relatives that I have at cemeteries are all in cemeteries where they won't let you plant anything, nothing. Everything's got to be just mowed over all the time. I don't like that. Dead bumblebees and carpenter honeybees. I'm not surprised. I think at dead bumblebees. Oh, you're not seeing a raise hand option. Nancy, go ahead and turn on your microphone and talk. It's okay. I'm not surprised at dead bumblebees because many of our native bumblebees are spring, not spring chickens. Their season is spring. They are done by the middle of summer, but I haven't noticed any. I hope there's not been a big spray near you. Nancy? Yeah. Oh, I see your microphone's on, Nancy. Go ahead.
Hi, Janet. Yeah, I'm not seeing the raise hand option in the
Uh-oh. Well, yeah, I don't see the participants anymore. Used to be at the bottom of my participants menu.
yeah, so something's changed down there.
Oh dear. And I didn't I stopped reading when Zoom sends things.
But
They send us these articles that don't make any sense to me at all in terms of what's going on. Sorry.
but I do have a question.
Uh-huh.
Um, the hummingbird clethra this year just has, I think, two lonely blooms on it.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering if that's because I didn't prune it last fall or late winter, early spring, and I purposely didn't prune it, thinking that the blooms would be higher up and I wouldn't have to bend down so far to smell them.
No,
But
it blooms on new wood, so it blooms even with the if you don't prune it some people don't like how it looks because it's still holding the old stalks quite often as it blooms. But I think they fried this year. I think that just they were building flower during the time when it was 100 degrees or 98 degrees or whatever it was. And I think they might have fried. But that's all I can tell you. It wouldn't have to do with your pruning because you can do almost anything to the clethra and they'll still bloom this year.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Got your picture of your Katsura roots in here. They went
Oh,
all with somebody else's situation too. So I'll show them to everybody and we'll see if other people have seen it.
thank you.
Oh, my phone just flashed like something was going on, but I don't know what it was. Okay, so we don't have a way to raise your hand. Oh, Barbara found it. Where is it now? It's in the more option. Well, that's what I was just looking in more. I didn't see it in my more. That's the thing is that our things look different. Yeah, of course, I wouldn't have a raise hand option because I'm host, I guess. So, I looked in participants more and didn't see it there. Somebody at the door? Might be a dog at the door. Dog has been busting into the office today while I've been working. I've not been outside much. Not today. Uh, Steve's coughing so much, it makes me worry about him breathing in all that smoke out there. Makes for nice sunsets and sunrises, though, doesn't it? Yeah. Yeah.
Janet, you hear me?
Hey, go ahead. Yeah.
Oh, it's Margie. Hi.
Hi, Margie.
Hi. My turtle heads love it here, and they're like almost 4 feet tall, I think.
Yeah.
And they have buds on them, and there's some flowers behind them that I want to see. I was wondering, is it too late to cut some of them down, cut them shorter now?
No, not too late now. They grow so well so long into the fall. You'll just have that many more flowers later on. Uh,
They'll still, if I cut off the buds now, it'll rebud.
yep. I've taken
Okay.
off this the latest. What is this? Is this August 8th? August. Yeah, I guess it's August 8th
Yeah.
right in front of me here. I've taken off as early as the first week of August before it had bloom.
Okay.
They won't bloom until those stalks that you cut. They won't develop flowers until middle of September or so.
Well, that'll be okay.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
I love it when things get tall that weren't so
Oh,
tall.
they love it here. There must be 4 feet wide by 4 feet high. They're
Yeah, they
just,
get a little carried away with themselves, actually. I'm thinking of
yeah,
not a bunch
yeah.
of them.
But I'll take what I can get over here in the shade. So,
Yep. Good for you. Welcome to Free for All Friday, where everybody is welcome to celebrate growing and cultivate problem solving. This is our 49th Free for All Friday. I'm Janet McConovich. We're at gardenatz.org. My husband, Stephen Nicola, is, I think,
I'm here.
hilarious. I think feeding the dogs just momentarily.
No, Sonia's got him. I'm here.
Okay. And we are ready to go with the topics that we've got this week, most of which we did not have to even dig into any archives for. There were plenty of questions coming in, even though it was not one of the greatest weeks to work. Just too smoky and humid out there some days. Um, Hope you're finding things that you can use on our website because this week I worked enough on some new things that I should be able to put out a whole new newsletter if I could just set myself down here and stay. So we've written a lot over time. There comes one of the dogs. I guess you have to get out of here, kiddo. Um, I'm going to show you a chart on nutrient deficiencies that I stuck on the Free for All Friday page. If you want to download it, you'll see it later on, and it's there on that day. Let people know about this. If they want to drop in, they can anytime. Just go to the Friday page, and the link is there. And if there are any questions in the group, now is the time to ask them before we dive into the things Steve and I have set up. This is our dog Karamia, who had just taken a swim in the lake and then realized that the bunny was out. And I was realizing while I was watching them that I watched a rabbit in our old yard where the yard was ringed with a chain link fence. So the openings are what, inch and a half, diamonds inch and a half or so wide. I watched a rabbit running from a cat across the yard, and I heard a that rabbit ran right through a chain link fence, never even slowed down. And I look at this grandkid's rabbit, and I think, if he wanted to, if he really wanted to, he could get out of there. Mia's more interested in him than he is in her. I was worried they had a cat when they first got the rabbit. I thought, oh, that's probably not a good thing to do. I'd watch cats chase rabbits. This bunny beat up their cat. The cat wouldn't have anything to do with the rabbit. What plant we were talking about cutting down was turtle head, and actually just cutting it shorter. It's gotten too tall, and Margie can't see the plants beyond it, so she wants to cut some of it down shorter. So basically pinching it. And is it too late to pinch? No, not turtle head. It'll still bud up and bloom. Okay. I'm working this year on tracking the development of annuals if you actually pinch them and fertilize them for once. And I'm going to make you look at all of the things that I've learned because there's a lot to learn in this. At the Waterford Library, where we'll be on this coming Wednesday, you're welcome to come and join us anytime between 4 and 6 to work out in the garden. We will probably have an education session, but I don't know what we're going to get educated about other than it's about gardening. And we planted in July, on July 9th. Here's our new Black Eye Susan editions, which are filling out pretty nicely there. Well, that guy back there, he's probably got 15, 20 flowers, started with 5. And we got 3 big ears on the elephant ear. I'm not sure we should have an elephant ear there because it's so sunny. It's surrounded, believe it or not, by voodoo lilies. But Sonia, you're there today, Sonia Sauter, the voodoo lily, that nice big bulb that you gave me, it waited until July to come up, middle of July, and is up a little ways now with 2 shoots, so it's going to give 2 bulbs. But what's going on with them, I don't know. Same thing with Nancy's clethra. Plants choose their time. But we put our annuals out and we expect them to do this. To start out with, we leave some space between them. This is heliotrope, also called cherry pie plant, or garden heliotrope, and petunias. And you expect them to fill in. Now, when we planted them, let's see, did we plant them in June? I think we planted them in the middle of June. And in July, when we were there on the 9th, I had people take all the flowers off of them, which just breaks people's heart. He said, no, clip those flowers off because we need these to branch out more than anything else. So they have branched out nicely. But you're always going to find some things like this is, starflower. What is starflower? Lisianthus? No, not Lisianthus. Starflower is what this is called. It should be blooming a lighter blue, but it's got lots of seed pods on it. So obviously this is one that you can't leave and deadhead or clip back just once a month. And you have to learn these things to see how they work for in other situations. Now, in the ground is one thing. There's generally lots of room for something to develop and do its thing, whatever its thing might be. In containers is something different. Now this container is bottomless, so that's a little bit different. But the pansies have done what pansies do, which is dislike the heat and the long days, long nights. Long nights? Long nights. No, long days.
No, short,
Yeah.
short nights.
Short nights long and are not blooming so well. So it's time for me next week to bring some things to put in there to start making the fall color go. Because everybody wants their containers to do this. This was up in Hancock, Michigan. Gorgeous coleus and begonias. So pretty. But quite often it's more like this. Most people don't. Is that you, Steve? Yeah.
I was just coughing. Sorry. I
Most
forgot
people,
to mute.
yeah. Most people don't realize that if you don't take off the seed pods, then the flower stalk just keeps extending itself. Like a miniature of the foxglove, just keeps extending itself further and further out, and the places that can grow leaves are not so likely to grow leaves. It can help if you water a little bit more, but the deadheading is important, especially for petunias. Petunias were the #1 selling annual for many years until sometime in the early 70s, I think it was. Somebody made a breakthrough in growing the impatiens and impatiens, which were called self-cleaning. They didn't extend their flower stalks like this and didn't stop blooming. So impatiens took over, but you can't get the range of colors with impatiens that you get with petunias, so it is nice to have. And those marigolds, unless they're mule marigolds, there are sterile varieties, sterile hybrids called mules that don't set seed. And they would keep blooming if you didn't deadhead them, but these deadheads, the brown, they need to come off. But you want it to be a nice big full basket, and it started as a full basket, but nobody's been cleaning it up on it at all. They've watered it some. And of course, if you don't even water it. So I did not want my grandkids, they love picking out the flowers with their dad and planting them by the deck. And I didn't want them to end up looking like this all year long, which is usually what they do. So I said, they'll be my test cases. So it's sedum gold mound and some kind of petunia in there. And that is at the beginning of the experiment, at the beginning of the time that I decided I would track them for, which is about 5 weeks. So this one is just, they planted it 4 weeks before this and did nothing to it but put some water on it. No fertilizer, no deadheading, nothing. This is now watered, fertilized regularly. What I do in order to get them to fertilize things is I put a real dilute fertilizer solution into a gallon jugs and leave them there for them to use. So there it is, just planted. First time that I groomed it, took off the dead flowers and the dead leaves. 3 weeks later, you can see the difference in the color. That greener color is because there's so much more growth on it, and because the new growth is stronger, more flowers filling in better. And I groomed it every 3 or 4 days. Then I moved it to, after that 3 weeks, just once a week to groom it. Mostly to take off the flower buds. There wasn't very little dead to take off. And this is right now. So here's our comparison. And by grooming, I mean shorten the length stems, take out things that are discolored and deadhead. At the library, we're only able to, well, we could groom more often than that, but we are there once a month. And so what we do then is I groom more aggressively rather than taking the developing seed pods off of the flowering stalk. I take some flowering stalks and cut them right back. Leave it with just a couple of flowering stalks so that it's developing right from the get-go. The double flower petunia is putting a lot of its energy into just flowers, so beginning and end, it's not a much bigger plant. It's got a lot more flower buds on it, and it's a nicer looking plant, but I'm learning that if I'm going to plant double flowered varieties of petunia, that you don't give them room to spread the same amount of room to spread that you do with the single varieties. So there it's cleaned up. 5 days later, the buds are developing nicely. You can see the color coming on, getting deeper. Should probably step up how much fertilizer is in the water because it should be greener than that and looking like that now. Now this particular petunia, the kids just pick out flowers they like the looks of, and this particular petunia they put into a container with Tradescantia. You can see it there. Did not like it when I got started. And a Streptocarpus, also called lady slipper. And Streptocarpus does not belong in the full sun, which is where this is. It was hot, it was dry, it was right after that real hot period. The Tradescantia will fill in, and the Streptocarpus won't die. See, it still keeps making little leaves. It singes around the edges and makes a single flower, and then it singes out again. Tells you about things. Verbena, I've never liked to grow verbena in the garden because it has to be deadheaded. I've never had verbena that keeps on going without being deadheaded. Just develops such a heavy load of seed on it. This is in with a variegated mint, and the mint, of course, has not had a problem with anything anywhere along the way. But you can see the discolored leaves from starving are still there at the end of 5 weeks, which probably means that verbena is missing something that's not mobile. Some nutrients, nitrogen is one of them, is mobile in the plant. If the plant needs nitrogen for the new growth, it will sacrifice old leaves. It'll let those get yellow and even drop off in order to move the nitrogen up into the new leaves because new leaves are more advantageous for the plant. But some elements, molybdenum, magnesium, don't move around as much. And so whatever this was still missing later on, but it's filling in nicely, blooming nicely. I've taken a lot of flowers off of it and a lot more buds are coming. It's a pretty plant too. It's a pretty color. But you can see that change in leaf color. It's pretty dramatic between when it started and now. And lantana, even now, there's still some paleness. Lantana is a swamp plant. Likes to be in ditches, rich, moist soil. Pretty hard to keep that going well, but it's going to be big here if we get going. Probably not a good combination with the Scotch moss, except visually. It's a nice look. I thought it was interesting the change in the flower color temporarily when we started watering and fertilizing it, because those are the flowers that came immediately afterwards. And they never developed any of the fading to yellow center. Lantana, of course, is called ham and eggs down south for the notion that there's a yolk in the middle of an egg in the middle of a slice of ham. There's a verbena here with a pentas. And I had no idea even what color they were because they started out with no flowers on them and totally pale. They're looking pretty good now. The pentas was just before the 5-week period. This was blooming and it is the same color. There we go. There's a flower on the pentas. I guess that's the remains of the flower. The flowers are pink and white on this pentas too. That's going to be a nice basket for the rest of the summer. This is wishbone flower, Torrenia. And it was not happy at all when we got started. It's quite happy now. This is another Torrenia, purple Torrenia, really showing you its lack of nutrients in the bronzy colored stems and leaves. And the alyssum telling us the same thing. The alyssum now is going brown. It turned a very nice green as things lined up, but some of the brown was the developing flower stalks and the nutrient deficiency of the different color stems. Here we go. But it got nice and green for 3-4 weeks, but now it's beginning to yellow out, and that's because alyssum, like pansies and edging lobelia, it really likes cool nights, and the hot nights are putting it into a stall. Ageratum does the same thing, goes into a heat stall. If you're going to cut back alyssum, now is a good time to do it. Now, as you start seeing brown on it, I've been just shearing off some flower stalks as we go along, but now is a good time to shear off more of the plant and let it grow back. There's a pot that they've got with 2 different Calibrachoas, Million Bells, that has done an interesting thing. The yellow cleaned it up here, and I took almost all the flowers off of it this last time that I cleaned it up. And there we go. It's looking pretty good now. But the other one, the variegated, the pinwheel type, you can see there's some discoloration of the new growth here. I thought that was a nutrient deficiency, but there may be a virus. Look at this, it's all turned white at the top. It's blooming now, but then it burned out, which is frequently the problem with white foliage on plants that revert, like euonymus or red poop dogwood will do the same thing. It will support a branch that has all white leaves, which we all think is really pretty, but those white leaves, having no nitrogen in them at all, tend to scorch pretty badly. I have to figure that out. And that's one of the things that I think is so interesting about growing. It's learning a new plant. It's learning what different plants do. Calibrachoa is one that I'm not familiar with in any great way. Too bad that it burned out because it could have looked kind of pretty with those pinkish pinwheel flowers on it. Scabiole is called fan flower. I think of it as groundhog flower. This is potato vine. It's got flowers that look kind of like a jasmine, so it's jasminoides and a petunia. And there are 2 places where they have red petunia on the deck, and they're my favorites because every time I've been there, almost every time that I've been there fussing with the plants, the hummingbird must be watching those and have staked them out as his own, because I quite often have a hummingbird hovering right in front of me as if to say, get away from my red petunia, those are mine.
Don't deadhead it. Don't deadhead it.
Don't take that flower off of there. That's my flower. So those are looking pretty good. The potato vine just started blooming now. It's got 2 bloom clusters open. I don't think the kids even picked it out because of the flower. They picked it out because they like the leaf color, which I give them great credit for. Now look at that Fanflower. Fanflower should be, at least when I've grown it in the garden, should be about 18 inches tall. And it's growing, it's got new growth on it, it's got new flowers, but it's staying down low. And I began looking at it and thought, I think somebody is walking along that rail at night and chewing off the stems as they come up. And I know the groundhog loved it. I'm wondering if raccoons like it, or if, well, the groundhog at dusk might come out, but those kids are still playing out there at dusk. So this is another thing for me to be looking at. Is what happened to the fanflower? Why does it keep getting chopped off? It's interesting that you can keep it real low like that. Petunia and a lotus vine. Lotus vine now is the nice blue green that it should be. They were different lighting situations, but it really is a different color now. And I got to thinking about, is this really a petunia? This difference between petunia and calibrachoa, the million bells. The difference, the technical differences that they tell you to look for is that the calibrachoa, each petal is folded in half. And on the petunia, the petals are under the one petal next to them and over the next petal. So you have to actually watch them unfolding. So you have to get close to them and take a look at it. And I have not been able to figure out, is this a mini petunia or is this a calibrachoa? Whatever it is, it's looking a lot better now. It's a lot greener and growing nicely. And if you're looking for notes about deadheading, just put in deadhead on the search engine or cutting back and a plant name, and you'll find articles about these things because they're of interest to me. And it's scary to people. They put things in and they love looking at the individual foxglove flower. Well, stand back and look at the whole thing and realize that you got to cut that back. You really have to cut that back. It changes the look of the plant from a single stem, but it still will flower and not look so silly. And I've been teaching my grandkids what's the difference between a flower bud and a seed pod. And it's interesting to hear them listen. From the time they were little, we taught them that. Some of these plants definitely had nutrient deficiencies and maybe still have nutrient deficiencies now. And I've been playing around with that and made up a chart. It's on the Frre4All Friday page. If you go there, you can download what I've got started here, which are a compendium of the symptoms you look for if nitrogen is missing, if phosphorus is missing. I don't have pictures put in yet because I won't put in our pictures unless I know by sending a sample into the lab that that's what it is that's going on. And every resource that I have here, extension bulletins, textbooks, magazine articles, all say that you have to first look at how the plant is growing. Its root conditions, whether they're girdled, whether they're stopped on one side or another, what kind of soil it's in, whether it is free draining or not. Insects, everything can affect the leaf color. And so if you want to work on nutrient deficiencies, don't start there. Start with making sure the plant has the right growing conditions and then work on, well, it's got some nutrient deficiencies. And we have had webinars about deadheading and grooming plants. And if you're a webinar subscriber, you have access to all 178 webinars. If you're not a webinar subscriber, you can still download the webinar with there's a list you can download, a list of all the webinars by category. This is on the subscribers resource page, but this is also on the webinars page. And you can look through and some of those, maybe 25 of them, Steve, or so are in the free webinars library.
Yeah, something around that, maybe a
Yeah.
little more.
Yes,
I'm not sure.
some of them you can see, and some of them you'd find that you'd have to talk to a friend who's a subscriber to see. Other questions about that?
No questions, except for I'm not sure if Nancy ever found her raise hand, so if she had a question, she could speak up.
We did talk about her question.
Okay.
Yeah.
Michelle then says the bunnies are eating the pink blossoms off her impatiens. Last time I plant them in the ground.
The deer just mowed down the impatiens when it's dry out. Impatiens and watery plants, it seems like they go straight for them. Sedums, impatiens, even the begonias, stuff that they don't usually eat that much, but go for the water, which makes sense.
Yep. Barbara's raised her hand.
Go ahead, Barb.
Yes, hi. I had a question about the plant. I think it's mirabilis. It's 4 o'clocks.
Yes, uh-huh.
Is it supposed to bloom at 4 o'clock in the morning or 4 o'clock in the afternoon?
Supposedly they open at 4 or close at 4 in the afternoon. Supposedly they open in the afternoon and then they stay open until the next morning, I think. I haven't grown those myself. My friend Buford used to love them and we'd play around with them there, and one of our clients had them. And they were, it's interesting because not only will they reseed, they're perennials in some places, but annuals for us most of the time, but they'll reseed. But if they are growing near a warm foundation, they'll come back as perennials. And they were at Ned and Barbara's house. And it was really cool to see them almost 5 feet tall. They were very pretty plants then. So are yours not blooming at all, or?
Well, they seem to bloom at 4 o'clock in the morning, but not 4 o'clock in the afternoon.
Well, that's no good.
And mine, well, I kind of like it
You're a
because
morning person.
I'm up that early. But they do reseed, and I do collect the seed, and I had given some to my neighbors. And so that was our discussion is, his bloom at 4 o'clock in the afternoon and mine's bloom at 4 o'clock in the morning. So I just wanted to know what was wrong with them.
Interesting. I know they just don't stay for the whole day. There was that whole bit, the Victorians had the whole bit with the plants that told the hours. So various plants were supposed to do things at various times. What color, do your colors stay consistent when you're growing them from seed that you collect?
Well, I usually collect them and based on the color.
Okay.
So yeah, they do stay consistent.
Yeah, yeah. If you're choosing for a particular color, that would work that way. Cool. Yeah, 4 o'clocks are neat. We got some loose ends. If you don't have any questions, I do.
Well, Jean just wanted to made a comment of her blueberries at home did great, but no wild berries in the woods by her this year.
Um,
And
yeah, I'm not sure that, I mean, pollination could be an issue there.
or they ate them before she saw them.
Yeah, that's possible.
Yeah, Teresa's saying she has at least 3 different fungi in her mulch, wondering if I'm doing something to cause this.
No, not likely at all.
No.
Those fungi were probably in the wood, and now that they've got moisture, maybe they're stacked up. Or I quite often get the little tiny cups. You get a whole mat of little one. There may be a 1/4 inch across little open cups. That happens in mulch quite a bit. And some of the stringy, thin stalk mushrooms come up in there. But no, they're just working on finishing decaying what was in the pile already. I don't think you're doing anything. Water might be doing it.
RK finally bit the bullet and pulled her gold sturm Rebecca that had the leaf spot. Do we have some favorite replacement black-eyed Susan varieties?
Yeah, unless I've misremembered the name Cherokee Sunset. Maybe it's Cherokee Sunrise. Has been my favorite. It was Karen Bovio turned us on to that one.
Yes.
Cherokee Sun something. Maybe it's Cherokee Sun, and I've added the Set of the Rise to it. You can probably look that up, Steve, if you got a minute, because you know about these loose ends. Hot days are a good time to rake up the debris that you've left laying around, all the loose ends. That's what I find. So one loose end was about passion flower. I still kept shaking my head, going, passion flower coming up all over people's gardens. Um, when I went back to the books and looked, I went, oh, that's right. There's all kinds of passion flowers, 600 species of passion flowers. So, but what's going on here is that, this is what comes to my mind with passion flower. I find these in conservatories, greenhouses, and further south of here, kind of real frilly. They're quite large flowers. And that's passiflora and tornado. And what is probably coming up, and you'll have to tell me those who say you've got them coming up in the garden all over the place. You probably have carulia, this one right here, which Steve's picture is a little easier to tell. It looks like that. Maybe you can tell me because this one is zone 6. So understandable since we were supposedly moved to zone 6 that it's coming up, but the other is zone 7 and not really reliable there. Looks like the first one. Wow. Tree says no, hers looks like the zone 7 plant. Well, I'll be darned. I'll be called darned. course, there are things like kudzu. Oh, someone wrote me and said, can I plant kudzu on my hill to hold the hill from erosion, up in Traverse City? I went, please don't bring kudzu up there. It made it into the southwest. There's a county in southwest Michigan where kudzu established itself because as they seed around, if there's any gene for a little more hardiness in the plant, it's going to express itself as the one that survives. And so it's been gradually moving north as it is. Don't give it any more help. And past flower, they're native in the southeast, some of the species. And they've been moving their way around. They've been in Pennsylvania and Ohio before, but now they're moving up here.
Okay. In Black-Eyed Susans, there's one called Gold Rush, but I don't see where it says it's resistant.
Oh, and Gold Rush is a good one, though. That's one that Pierre likes a lot.
And there was one with a little bit more orange in there that's called Indian Summer.
Yeah,
Black-Eyed
probably.
Susan, Indian Summer.
Yeah, since it's been 20 years since we moved over to Cherokee, it must be that they're not there anymore. But Indian Summer, any of the ones with the native names are the ones that came out of Chicago's breeding program originally. At least I'm not.
Yeah. But there's still, the number one is still Goldstrom. You know what I mean? That it shows up the most.
Yeah. Another loose end that I've got is that even the best photos are not quite like being there in 3D. And I want to clarify pruning advice that I was giving before. It was for Teresa's weeping willow. And she's looking at what to prune, which branches to keep, and looking primarily at the top here, 1, 2, 3. You have to look real close and you'll see later that there's two main branches crossed real close to each other there. First off, you have to remember that when you're pruning a tree, you're pruning it for the main branches. And right now it's got a good base to have a main branch at about 8 feet here, where that would be your outline someday. So you don't need two branches going off to the left side. One branch on each side, left and right, north and south is fine. And Teresa had asked which one of the two should she take off. I had told her previously I would take this one off because it is crossing over the other one and working its way back into the same space that this one is, whereas this has branches that are going forward away this way. But when I was looking at the pictures again from the different sides and realizing which branches were which, so these are the two branches that are close together, looking straight at them. And thinking about the problem of what about where the branch bark collar, where the trunk meets the branch, the ridge that's there is gapping here and closed here. I said, wait, keep the closed branch bark collar, get rid of this one. To get rid of this one, you'd get rid of the other branch, this branch going out here. This branch that's going this way on the other side that we can't see here is where that gap is. This would be a nice wide crotch normally, but if it's got gaps, then it's going to be putting pressure and could split apart. So I would take this one off and leave this one that has the good branch bark ridge that's pushing itself outward, making an outward bunched ridge. So this is the other side of this branch right here. And I would get rid of the gapped one by cutting it off right here along with the stub and keep these two as your main branches. Temporarily, they're going to be both a little heavy on leaf on the back side of the tree. Backside as we're looking at it right now, but that'll work its way out. Because it's going to be a big tree someday.
Yep. Tree said, it's too late. We already took the lower one off. Can I do anything to help the gap?
No, when it's done, it's done. And it could close over that over time.
It could heal. They're fast growing.
Yeah. If it looks like it's getting wider, then I would take the branch off and let the tree produce another one.
Another one.
Yep. A little bit easier.
It shows you that example of pruning just shows you pruning is a 3D class. It's not a 2D class. You can't show people enough of the plant. Look, we had to go through, not just two pictures, we had to go through a bunch, and we didn't even go all the way around the plant.
Right.
It's
And
uh,
what did John tell us, the conifer pruner, the expert pruner of conifers? He said, no, of Japanese maples. He said, after you've decided what you're going to prune, and you prune, walk around the plant clockwise, and then walk around the plant counterclockwise. You're going to see something different when you walk in a different direction. And it's true. I've done that a number of times and said, oh, from over here, I can tell that that one's got to go. A little bit
I,
easier on that willow than figuring out what to cut on a Alaska Paul cypress, huh?
it just that's what makes pruning so hard for a lot of people to understand is they're seeing a lot of examples of pruning in 2D and not 3D.
Yeah, and
Uh,
there's no way you can describe to somebody that that branch is.
Short of workshops, and even a workshop can be difficult.
Yeah,
So it's experience that counts in the long run.
yeah. Another loose end was we were talking with Irina about the rose pest that's been getting in and destroying her rose flowers. And we didn't have a picture of it to talk about. Then I realized that Terry Wolf had sent in pictures and asked what's going on. And this is probably rose budworm. So this caterpillar, this moth, lays its eggs on a developing rose bud, the tip growth, and it bores into the bud, and you'll end up with distorted petals where it ate the flower as it was forming, or it'll eat right through the stalk that's the bud, and you end up with a bunch of dead buds. And it can be that you get a lot of them. It's called rose bud worm, but it's also tobacco bud worm. And it'll get into a bunch of different plants, geraniums, pansies, tomatoes. So if once you get them around, they are trouble because they are hosting on other plants too. But your best bet with those is to keep the plant covered when it's young. You're going to aim, like all integrated pest management, your aim should be at the easiest place to control the pest, which is going to be when it's youngest and in its lowest numbers. And that's in the spring, the first generation that comes out. And what you want to do is use one of the permethrins, or methrin, or pyrethroids, the chrysanthemum family plant, pyrethrum, painted daisy, creates a chemical called pyrethrum. And you can either use pyrethrum, the natural occurring chemical, and you'll find that on the ingredients label, or you can use pyrethroids, which are our copy that's made in the lab of the same chemical formulation, and spray it on the outside of the buds as they're forming, so that as the caterpillars chew, they are getting some of what's going to kill them when they're little and most likely to succumb to it. Because it's pyrethrum and it's sprayed on the outside, and because roses open up, or see the bud open its calyx, these pieces right here were the bud. This is the ovary, that's going to be the rose hip. Those open up. They are protecting the flowers. So the flowers and the pollen parts, which I've seen bees on our roses. Irina said she hadn't seen bees on hers, but on the roses, the pollen and everything would be poisoned, toxic, if you use the systemic, which is the other way to go. But if you're using a pyrethrin and just every week or so spraying the parts where the new buds are, that part opens up and all of your pyrethrum, whatever might stay on there, is there, and that's not where your pollinators are. But you got to stay on top of it. You got to keep spraying. And it's just one of the reasons that I don't grow very many roses. And my hat is always off to people who do, because they are fast growing members of a family that has a lot of pests that go with them, and everybody wants your roses. Everybody wants your roses.
Yep. The pests seem to find the roses no matter where you put them.
Yeah. Another loose end was the blue-fruited crabapple. A couple of people said, "Did you find out what that crabapple was?" And we were up north in Houghton, Hancock, the top part of the Michigan's Upper Peninsula, walking in front of the post office. I saw this tree two trees, one on either side of the doorway. I went in and asked, I said, do you know what kind of trees those are out there? They said, well, whatever kind they are, they're the prettiest thing in town for about 3 or 4 days every spring. I said, well, they're crab apples. I know that. I'm looking to see if I know the type they are. And what the reason I was asking is, do you see the blue fruit, the blue crab apples? Aren't they pretty? I mean, that's a different color. And um, the leaves are pretty clean here for,
Very clean.
yeah. Okay, so we got a disease-resistant blue-fruited crabapple. I had seen one at a botanical garden many years ago, but haven't seen them in the trade. It's called Purple Prince. There you go. And of course, it's the guy from Medina, Ohio, who did all those crab apples, the monk, and Frank Smitten's son who carries it. But it's a nice pink flower in the spring. Kind of disagreement here between the Missouri's picture is making it pink or more purple, and a nice round little tree. And it is disease resistant, has good disease resistant to the regular diseases of crab apples. So if you're looking for that one, you're looking for Purple Prince. And I found that it is still available in the trade. McKay Nursery, for instance, in Wisconsin has it.
Yeah. Is the fruit edible? Probably.
Crabapple fruit is edible. It's just a matter of
Whether it's tasty or not is another matter.
well, yeah, it's kind of like the viburnum fruits. It can take a lot of sugar to make it palatable to some people, but it's also cleaning a lot of it. Who was it who makes, oh, quince jelly? I just realized I didn't turn the lights on in my office when I came in. Who thinks about lights when you're hot already? Jim would make quince jelly, and that's a lot of work. Quince is the big, not the flowering quince, but the quince bush. It's a different species. The fruit is not even as big as a lime. And that's a lot of cleaning and seed removal and whatever to do for making jellies. Black swallowtails, black swallowtail, caterpillar, and a monarch caterpillar both decided to climb around on the dill. They're both looking for a place to go make a chrysalis. They're not eating at this point. And they decided to hang themselves up together. These are from Sonia's collection. Okay, into prettier stuff. Done with the loose ends. Plant of the week, we decided, is definitely hydrangea season now. Right, Steve?
Yeah, kind of. At the library today, looking at those hibiscus and that one with the cut flower that we saw that we haven't seen before. They're pretty, but I think the plant of the week is definitely the hydrangeas. But with the hibiscus coming in a close second.
Okay, maybe we'll give hibiscus next week. But yeah, earlier on we had all of the oak leaf hydrangeas and then the snowball hydrangeas, but now it's the panicle hydrangeas. It's the conical cluster hydrangeas that are really making the show. Steve and I have a bug up our butts about the new varieties that are coming out. We like the older varieties. We like the ones that are definitely a conical shape and have some space between flowers so that there's some character there.
And you can see through the bloom to see some of the leaf.
Yeah. Whereas some of the new ones are so thick and heavy, they just look congested.
White puffballs with green.
Yeah. And of course, it's the time of year when people are saying, my blue ones didn't bloom, my pink ones didn't bloom. These are on Cape Cod at our client's place, and they bloom very nicely there. Back to what to do why to get them to bloom. It isn't a matter of putting the right fertilizer on them. It's whether or not the bud at the tip, which formed last year and spends the winter covered over, if that bud on the tip, which is a whole stalk ready to go, if that survives the winter, like this one did, then it can finish growing, finish maturing, and bloom. But if it gets killed, see the inside here, turned dry and died out, maybe
Dead.
Winter, that stem is not going to bloom, or maybe it'll bloom from way down low on the side late. And certainly if the bud tip gets cut off during the winter or a deer eats it or something, it's not going to bloom. And those are what happen. We've
With
written
those pink and snow, with the pink and blue type hydrangeas.
yeah, so you don't want to prune those in the spring and you don't want to prune those in the fall and take off those tip buds. And you have to try to keep them through the winter. Michigan's not a great place for them to make it through the winter. Some winters they do, and then they get killed in the spring by a late frost. Some winters they just don't make it through at all. We've written about it. Oh, I didn't, I mistyped it. My stupid shaky hand. That should say garden A to Z. But if you go to what's coming up 200 on our website, or go to what's coming up number 86, which has our complete shrub pruning guide, you'll find these pictures and some directions for people. And we needed them Wednesday this week. We were
Yeah.
over at a friend's house and she said, now, when can I prune this? Now, I suspect that this is, uh-oh, I've forgotten its name. It's a rose, it's got a pink variation. It is actually the Annabelle hydrangea, but it gets a rosy color on it. So it could be pruned at any time. But if this was a pink or a blue one, you could prune it now. If you want it not to be so big or have more stems, you can cut them right now. And there is enough time at the end of the year for a new buds to form further down and get mature enough to bloom next year. So you can prune them right after they bloom, or you can prune them in the springtime to just thin out some branches and whatever you take out isn't going to bloom. But I told Lorraine, I said, now, as well as pruning the top, if you want to keep it smaller, look at the bottom here. Can you see the stems of the hydrangea in there? And going right through the hydrangea are vines of the ivy. The ivy is the orange, going right through. If you want this to bush out and have more main stems, you need to not just prune the hydrangea, but peel back that ivy, clip
Give
it,
that hydrangea room to breathe.
room to breathe, or actually there needs to be sun and warmth on the stems to stimulate growth from down there. If you don't take that ivy out, it's only going to branch from up above the ivy. So if you've got a ground cover around a shrub that you're going to cut way down, you need to pull the ground cover away until the plant really gets growing in the spring. So, and that goes for the bishop's weed, the all green goutweed. Bishop's weed is in here as well as the ivy. Just cut all that stuff, and if it starts coming up, if it's going to cast shade at all, even if it's just a regular deciduous leaf, get it out of there. Keep it out of there. So keep a circle cleared around that hydrangea. Or if you cut your butterfly bush down and it's growing in a bed of ground cover, give it light on what you left there, or the stimulus that makes the plant make a branch. It won't work. And Lorraine says hello to those who garden with us at the zoo. Lorraine and Ward were longtime volunteers at the zoo. Ward is not walking well by himself anymore, so Lorraine and he are living separately, but Lorraine spends every afternoon and evening over at the private house group home where he lives. And they're very happy and still have a nice park-like garden.
They just recently celebrated their 69th wedding anniversary.
That's cool. Sonia sent this picture to me for us to look at, and it made me give Brenda Zedick a call. Brenda Sattler now. She's gone back to her maiden name. Brenda wrote the book, Raising Butterflies in the Garden and Butterfly Gardening, and started the Southeast Michigan Butterfly Association. And Sonia saw this. See those right there? She has seen them before, so she recognizes. She said, those are, I'm pretty sure, question mark eggs. The butterfly known as question mark grows on her hops every year, and she collects them by the dozens and raises them. But it was laid on a plant that came from one of her house plants that's just summering out on the deck, and the eggs are there. So I called Brenda. I said, Brenda, Sonia also told me, she said, I'm really worried because I haven't seen a single question mark this year, not one. And we normally have lots of them. She said, but there must be one out there because I found some eggs. Well, I called Brenda and I just asked her whether the question mark was, I said, are they a good mother, or are they a little scattered? Sonia says she's found eggs on a house plant, and she's also sometimes found eggs on the wall, the wooden privacy fence wall. Brenda said, oh, they're not good mothers at all. She said, they'll lay eggs on a dead leaf laying near the hops vine, and I have to rescue them all the time. I said, okay, so she's not seeing anything unusual. But you know, and I had not told Brenda anything other than asking her whether they're good mothers. She said, I haven't seen a single question mark this year at all, and I'm rather worried about it. Now that's Westland, Michigan, and Guelph, Ontario. That's a big region to see. There are no butterflies, but that particular type of butterfly, something might have happened in the spring to hold them off. And now the population is going to have to grow back again. And that does happen with almost all insects. They go through boom and bust cycles. The thing that's worrying the scientists right now is that there's so many insects that seem to be all down and not coming back up, falling behind. Sometimes it's the problem in the summer. And playing catch up, I walked out the front door to go over to my grandkid's house and let the rabbit out. And as I walked along the path, which I have not been walking along because I haven't pruned the crabapple and the branches are hanging down too low, I walked along the path and went, what the heck? And ended up stopping and doing what the lightning weed. There was a bunch of radium weed coming up there and crabgrass had gotten in the edge. And that's kind of how catch-up works with me. It works as a priority with what I see first, and I try really hard to stay with it. I said, I'm going to clean that whole edge up. And now that I have mulch again, because we found someone to take down the dead spruce at the end of the driveway. And that means that we have another pile of mulch that I can use because there was no mulch on my garden this year, no new mulch on the garden this year. And that makes a big difference. I had last year's leaves, but those break down once it's an open area. It's every weed's seed's chance to get started. We've been leaving our trunks up so that we can put birdhouses and things on them. I've got chunks of birch hung on the dead spruce trunks, because chickadees like to. It's one of the trees that chickadees who are cavity dwellers, so they'll hollow out a dead piece of birch and nest in it. And we don't have very many birches in the neighborhood. And it seems like everybody takes them down rather than lets them sit with a dead branch on them. So Steve brought me home some logs that he found where someone was taking a birch down. And we've hung them up. And they've been up for, I think, 3 years, Steve. Does that sound right?
Yeah.
They've been up for 3 years. And this is the first year that I found some sawdust underneath one of them. I said, okay, somebody is working on this log now.
It really might take it that long to get soft enough for them to work into it if there wasn't a hole started already.
Yeah, yeah. And we'll see how it goes.
Yep.
Sonia put together this little garden house, bought the kit at a gift shop, a zillion little pieces to punch out and put together. Makes you want a place just like that to sit in your garden.
Therese says she saw her first great fritillaria today.
Great for Larry, yeah, it's great. They kind of float. One flap float, one flap float. It's quite nice looking at them. What did Brenda told me while I was talking to Brenda that she, for the first time ever, has had tawny emperor in her yard. It's another one of the big orange butterflies. And the American snout, and I hadn't heard of an American snout before, but by God,
I thought that was a mammal.
they do indeed have a snout on them. They live on hackberry trees. If your yard is warmer than it should be, you might need to look up. Tree trouble is noticed this time of year. Laura sent this to us, Steve. You haven't seen this yet, but she said the trees didn't look so good 3 years ago, and they've been struggling the last 2 years. And now the homeowners association tells me I have to take them down and put new trees. I have 3 maples like this. What's going on now? That's not moss. That's distorted.
That's their growth.
Leaf. I said,
Whoa.
this looks an awful lot like herbicide damage to me.
Yep.
Somebody applied something to the lawn around those trees, and we're seeing more and more alarm bells about it. About 15 years ago, 2011, I had to look up when it was, Steve, the year that they put in Prellis, new herbicide for the lawn. They put in Prellis on, and plants were dying everywhere. And
like quicker than this one.
Right, the extension people were deciding that there must be some new disease, and it was affecting conifers of all kinds, pines and spruces and firs. And then, because it was definitely bad on the conifers, but then it was found it was affecting the others too, and it was the new herbicide. you put that on the lawn, the trees' roots are under the lawn too, and the trees were dying from it. Well, now we're seeing this happening if you're near farms where they're using dicamba as a herbicide and they're upping the amount that they use on it because weeds get resistant to it. We're finding areas that are in trouble. And if you read about Roundup, I think we talked about this on an earlier session. Roundup is not just Roundup anymore in a lot of those products. It's being mixed with other chemicals, and we're seeing damage like this. So if you can remember, Laura, what went on underneath that tree in the year that it first looked bad, or the year just before it looked bad, if it was in
Or
spring.
is it a continuing application?
Yeah, it could be still just happening. But I don't think there's any hope for those trees anymore. They died way back.
Oh, no, they're done.
That's so terrible. But when in looking for, I was looking for Imprellis and whether there was anything new like that going on. I searched lawn herbicide caused tree deaths and damage. And you'll find a lot of extension bulletins. You'll find a lot of industry bulletins about that.
So
Let's,
let's just cut back the regulations. Sorry.
yeah, let's deregulate everything. But there are some success stories. This is Nancy's oak tree. It's a turkey oak, overcup oak. One of the oaks that I didn't realize but it's hardy here and it's being used. Her neighborhood had them put all up and down the street, and hers didn't look good. This is her tree now. Last year, we did a rescue operation on her tree. The leaves are now the right size. They're still chlorotic, which might be a deficiency of iron, but Nancy's been using a liquid ironite dilute on it and keeping it well watered because it can also be still the problem of not enough root. If it doesn't have roots spread far enough out, it can't possibly get enough iron in. But take a look if you're wondering about your trees and you're doing anything, take a look at what they did look like or what they do look like right now. I just told Gloria to do this after she'd had some landscape work done in front. The landscapers drove through the yard, through the lawn underneath her oak trees repeatedly with their machinery rather than driving on the new driveway. I thought, what if you got a driveway for except to drive on? I said, take a picture of looking up into your trees now, what they look like, so that you can look later. Do they look better? Does that tree look better? Because Nancy said, well, I can't say it looks better. I think, look, there's no
Duh.
it's a lot better. This tree is beginning to grow now. It's beginning to develop a new leader. Can you see that the one branch is beginning to take off at the top, where before it was dying back? If you worry about your trees, pictures make all the difference. So in the case of David and Nancy's Katsura in the front yard here, Troy is putting out quite a variety of different trees, Katsura being one of their street trees. And the flare root that David's standing by looks like this, and it didn't have that crack before. And they're wondering what might be going on. I'm not as familiar with cracks on tree roots as on the tops, but generally when you see a crack open up on a tree, it is old damage, deeper inside the branch that has responded by freezing and thawing at a different rate than the wood around it because it's denser. And what happens is it makes it pop open, trying to button something over. You can suck in your gut all you want, but once you button it, there's pressure on that point, and if you push out a little bit, you can break it open. So I would say that whatever is going on there, it's old damage, because I don't think anybody could possibly take a knife and do that, and that's not mower damage. Will it be okay? Trees suffer a lot of root damage, especially the flare roots from mowers going over them. And I don't think
Eh,
kill the tree, and it seemed like it has good root structure around. So all you can do is watch, take pictures and watch and see if it's doing okay.
Nancy said she bought the new Roundup for poison ivy. It did absolutely nothing. Leaves did not even turn brown, let alone die. Karen commented, none of the new formula Roundups appear to be working. And
Oh,
worked a little bit on her bishop's weed, Nancy said, but give it time. That new formulation is supposed to last a long time, right? So maybe it's delayed. I don't know.
But there are a lot of there are a lot of plant species, weeds, that have become resistant to Roundup. The last
That's true.
article that I read had well over 100 species of weeds are known to have developed resistance to Roundup, and that's why they're putting these other things in there. Um,
Um,
Poison ivy and raspberry patch, I see that.
yeah.
Poison ivy looks so much like raspberry leaves that that's scary. We tell people that if you've got a weed that you're battling, you have to make sure that whatever you plant there does not have any resemblance to the weed, so that you can tell quickly where when the weed gets in there. So if it's going to be there, if it's coming from an established colony of poison ivy and going to keep coming back, move your raspberries to someplace else. If it's just a seedling that got started and you're noticing it now, gear up on a cool morning. Um, I put, I take sweat socks and cut the toes out of them. And I put on my long sleeves. That's why it's got to be a cool morning. I put on long sleeves and I put a glove on, and then I pull a sock over my glove with my fingers sticking out where I've cut the toes off, so that I'm covering the gap between my glove and my long sleeves. And I'll work for about 15 minutes, making sure that I don't push my glasses up or touch my face, carefully taking it out and throwing the pieces and I pull it out just like weeds, because if it's new, you can do that. You can just pull the rooted parts out. You might have to do some cutting, but I will put a old sheet um, behind me and throw everything onto an old sheet that I can then roll up when I'm done and safely stick into a garbage bag. Um, I find that I can't handle the poison ivy more times than that, like trying to stuff it into any other kind of bag. But if I throw it on a sheet, I can fold the sheet up over itself. But you either do that or you wait until mentally mark where it is. And in the fall, when it's cooler and you can work more easily, do it then. I've weeded poison ivy in January if the ground is thawed and I'm still digging it up, because the fewer leaves that it has, the less chance that you're going to touch it and get the oil on your skin. But the oil is in the wood as well as the leaves. So even in the winter, I gear up and get all covered up. And if after about 15 or 20 minutes, I'll peel that glove off and throw it on the pile of poison ivy that I've been pulling, and put a new glove on, put something clean on to make sure that you're not getting more of it on yourself. It's tough to do. Poison ivy is a very dangerous thing.
Yeah. Carol posted last year that the company started leaving out glyphosate.
Glyphosate, yeah.
Yeah, and there's an article from MSU called, she put the link in the chat, Not Your Mother's Roundup.
Yeah, yeah. I know Dave Roberts has been writing about it too. I'm going to stop my
And
share for a minute to show you something let's see who sent. I think Tanya sent this one.
okay, now it's starting.
Goats are being used to gobble up an invasive species plant known as buckthorn.
Interesting. Well, land conservators are hoping the goats will clear away an area overgrown with the invasive plant to make way for a community park. Kyle Macon reports.
Buckthorn beware. 48 goats are looking to take you off the map.
Goats are actually the only chemical-free way to eradicate invasive buckthorn, which I've seen with my own eyes take over an entire parcel of land in 2 to 3 years.
The invasive plant is becoming a real problem on vacant lots across Flint. Fortunately, these guys are coming to the rescue. Buckthorn is native to Europe and Asia. According to the Michigan DNR website, it was introduced to North America in the 1880s as an ornamental plant. It's now considered an invasive species.
One of our biggest problems here in the city is illegal dumping, and invasive overgrowth is one of the direct causes of that because it blocks line of sight.
Kelly Jewett with the Genesee County Land Bank says buckthorn also takes nutrients away from native plants. In the past, they've used chemicals to get rid of the plant, but Jewett says studies show those chemicals can cause cancer.
Ramona Park has a storm drain that goes directly to the Flint River, and that drains this entire neighborhood. So anything that got sprayed here would go into the park and then into the watershed.
It will take the goats 3 to 4 grazing sessions over the next few weeks to eat all the buckthorn here in Ramona Park.
The idea is that you've depleted all of the energy stored in the plant's root system, and it has had no time to make leaves and photosynthesize, and that's how you eradicate the buckthorn.
The land bank's goal is to clear this space so the community has a place to gather for years to come.
And while I've got the video running, I'll tell you more about the goats in a minute here. I thought, while I got the video running, let's also, can you see, are you seeing the butterfly, Steve?
Nope.
Oh, okay, now I gotta switch my share again.
Margaret's asking, anyone know who rents out their goats? And Nancy says, sign me up too. Barb also mentioned that when she used poison ivy Roundup, it took about 10 days, but the poison ivy finally turned brown and did die.
I think one of the big problems with Roundup is having to watch something die, that it does take time. People expect that it's going to happen immediately because it's not a burned down chemical. It's one that the plant has to assimilate, and it puts the chemical into the starch that it makes and sends to the roots, and the roots have to starve by not getting, because they can't dissolve that form of the starch that the Roundup makes the plant make. That's my understanding. An enzyme change. I'll get back to the goats in a minute, but while I've got the video thing
Well, it's
running.
8 o'clock, so we don't have too many minutes.
Sonia's monarch emerged. You can see that this one's about to emerge. The green chrysalis has gone clear, and you can see the monarch through it. This one just emerged from its chrysalis right here. And this is an American lady butterfly chrysalis. She chose to go up there at the top with the monarch, so it's her choice to be there. But watch how it reacts to the monarch fluttering around next to it. I have seen chrysalises wiggle, but I have never seen a chrysalis go this crazy. Isn't
Wow.
that something?
Yeah, you could see the other monarch chrysalis wiggling a little bit, but not like, yeah.
Not flapping
Cool.
around like a wild thing, huh?
Yeah.
Okay, about the goats, just to finish up the goats. Maybe 20 years ago, I'll look and see if I can find the article on it. About 20 years ago, I kept an article or a couple of articles about using goats on kudzu in the southeast. And the idea was that if you keep them grazing on it, they can starve it out. But it does take a lot of repeated grazing. And in the case of the kudzu, the goat's hooves were doing enough damage to the crown of the vine that was an additional way that they were killing things. So might work, but it's a cool thing to be thinking about doing. Okay, so it's 8 o'clock. We don't need to do any more questions here. And Sonia, who took a lot of the pictures we have here, so did Stephen, is probably waiting dinner for us. So we'll go out and do that. Unless there are questions that you've got that we want to follow up with, then this is it for Free-for-All Friday. If you've got questions that come up during the week, send them by email or text them to us. You've got our number. If you don't, look on the website. It's there. You'll find it. We'll be back.
Thank you so much for coming.
We'll be back next Friday for our 50th on August 15th, and we'll see you then or see you someplace around. Have a great weekend.
Take care, everybody. Ta-ta for now.